hell I wish I was you.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, hang in there.
1969 to 70 was a transition season. The 1960s were officially ending. America had landed on the moon 5 months earlier. Vietnam was still raging on the evening news. The Nielsen Top 10 was dominated by Rural America, Mayberry RFD, The Beverly Hillbillies, Bonanza, Hee Haw. Networks were terrified of the youth revolution and had absolutely no idea how to address it. ABC, NBC, and CBS all swung wildly at the plate that fall and missed in spectacular fashion. Today we're counting down 10 canceled single-season disasters from the 1969 to 70 television season. 2 of them starred the same actor on the same network in the same Monday time slot, back-to-back. One of them won the Emmy for Outstanding Comedy Series while being canceled. And number 1 is a primetime soap opera that gave the biggest Hollywood movie star of the 1940s her one and only television role. Number 10, The Tim Conway Show, CBS.
Well, I think I'll grab a little shut-eye.
Tim Conway in 1970 had been on television for almost a decade. He had played the bumbling ensign Charles Parker in McHale's Navy for 4 seasons. He had starred in a western called Rango in 1967 that lasted 13 episodes. He had hosted a sketch show called Turn On in 1969 that was canceled after its first episode aired. By January 1970, CBS believed they had finally cracked the code on a Conway vehicle. They were wrong. The Tim Conway Show, the first of 2 completely different CBS series, Conway would headline with that exact title, premiered on January 30, 1970, Friday nights at 8 p.m. Conway played Tim Spud Barrett, the chief pilot and only pilot of AAA Airlines, a one-plane charter service operating out of Crawford Airfield in Los Angeles. The plane was a Beechcraft Model 18 named Lucky Linda. Joe Flynn, who had played Conway's gruff Captain Binghamton on McHale's Navy, was now Conway's Air 6 supervisor, Herbert Kenworth. The 2 were essentially playing the same dynamic from McHale's Navy, but on land. As one reviewer later put it, the show could have been called after McHale. CBS scheduled the show Fridays at 8 p.m. opposite the Brady Bunch on ABC and the High Chaparral on NBC. 13 episodes aired. The last new episode aired June 12, 1970. Tim Conway then joined The Carol Burnett Show in 1975 and became one of the greatest sketch comedians in television history. A decade later, in 1980, CBS gave him a second swing with another show, also titled The Tim Conway Show, this time a Carol Burnett-style variety hour with Harvey Korman. That one is a different show entirely and lasted 2 seasons before also being canceled. Number 9, My World and Welcome to It, NBC.
Are you sure you know the names of all the pieces?
Well, not all of them. But I set them up right, didn't I?
The most critically acclaimed cancellation of the 1969 to 70 season was a quirky little NBC sitcom about a Manhattan magazine cartoonist with an overactive imagination. My World and Welcome to It premiered on NBC on September 15, 1969, Mondays at 7:30 p.m. The show is based on the writings, cartoons, and stories of James Thurber, the legendary New Yorker cartoonist who had died in 1961. William Wyndham played John Monroe, a cartoonist for a magazine called The Manhattanite, which was transparently the New Yorker with a different name. Monroe lived in Connecticut with his sensible wife Ellen and his intelligent daughter Lydia, played by Lisa Gerritsen, who would later play Phyllis's daughter on The Mary Tyler Moore Show. Every episode mixed live action with animated Thurber-style fantasy sequences created by DePatie Freeling Enterprises, the same studio behind The Pink Panther. Created by Melville Shavelson, executive produced by Sheldon Leonard, the man behind The Andy Griffith Show, The Dick Van Dyke Show, and I Spy. Produced by Danny Arnold, who would later create Barney Miller. The pedigree was elite. NBC canceled it after 26 episodes. Final episode aired March 9, 1970. 2 months later, the show won the 1970 Emmys for Outstanding Comedy Series. William Wyndham won Outstanding Lead Actor. The Emmys hadn't seen the cancellation notice. My World and Welcome to It remains the most recent single-season cancellation to ever win Outstanding Comedy. Number 8, The Debbie Reynolds Show, NBC.
Around dressed like that, even in a movie.
Where is Amerikanski reporter?
Debbie Reynolds in 1969 was Hollywood royalty. She had starred in Singin' in the Rain in 1952. She had been nominated for an Oscar for the unsinkable Molly Brown in 1964. She had been one half of one of the biggest celebrity marriages of the 1950s with Eddie Fisher, then one half of one of the biggest celebrity divorces of the 1950s after Fisher left her for Elizabeth Taylor. NBC offered her a 2-year deal to star in her own sitcom. She took it. The Debbie Reynolds Show premiered on NBC on September 16, 1969, Tuesday nights as the lead-in to Julia. The show was created by Jess Oppenheimer, the original co-creator of I Love Lucy, and used 2 longtime Lucy writers. The premise was I Love Lucy with the serial numbers filed off. Reynolds played Debbie Thompson, a Los Angeles housewife who wants to be a journalist despite her sports writer husband Jim's objections. Don Chastain played Jim. Tom Bosley, 5 years before Happy Days, played her brother-in-law. The opening theme, With a Little Love, was sung by Reynolds herself. Days after the premiere, Reynolds discovered NBC had sold ad time to American Brands, a cigarette company. Reynolds was militantly anti-smoking. She threatened to quit. American Brands withdrew. NBC, furious, invoked an exit clause. The show was canceled after 1 season. Reynolds also lost her 2-year deal and her movie profits. She later lived in her car for a brief period. Monty Python parodied the show's opening theme in their 1969 sketch, The Attila the Hun Show. Number 7, Worst Huddles, CBS.
Every piece of furniture she has is falling apart.
Yeah, you're right.
What if the Flintstones, but football? That was the pitch. CBS bought it. Where's Huddles premiered on CBS on July 1, 1970, Wednesday nights as a primetime summer replacement for Hee Haw, produced by Hanna-Barbera, directed and executive produced by William Hanna and Joseph Barbera personally. It was the first new primetime animated series to debut since The Flintstones had gone off the air in 1966. The premise: Ed Huddles is a professional football quarterback for a team called the Rhinos. His best friend, Bubba McCoy, is the team center. Together they navigate married life, suburban troubles, and the weekly rigors of professional football. Cliff Norton voiced Ed Huddles. Mel Blanc voiced Bubba McCoy, using a voice indistinguishable from his Barney Rubble on the Flintstones. Gene Vanderpyle, who had voiced Wilma Flintstone for 6 years, voiced Marge Huddles. Alan Reed, the original Fred Flintstone, voiced Coach Mad Dog Mahoney. Paul Lynde voiced the snubby neighbor Claude Pertwee. Herb Jeffries, the legendary singing cowboy from the Duke Ellington Orchestra, voiced teammate Freight Train. Marie Wilson voiced Bubba's wife Penny in what would be her final role before her death from cancer 2 years later. Dick Enberg, the actual NBC sports broadcaster, voiced the sportscaster. CBS gave Where's Huddles a 10-episode trial run. The final episode aired September 2, 1970. The slot was then handed to a mid-season replacement that would premiere 4 months later. That replacement was called All in the Family. Number 6, Mr. Deeds Goes to Town, ABC.
Suppose you were living in a small town and getting along fine, and suddenly somebody dropped $20 million in your lap.
In 1963, Frank Capra directed a movie called Mr. Deeds Goes to Town starring Gary Cooper and Jean Arthur. It won Capra the Best Director Oscar. It was nominated for Best Picture. It is considered one of the great American film comedies of the 20th century. Cooper died in 1961. Capra retired in 1964. By 1969, both men had moved on. ABC had not. Mr. Deeds Goes to Town, the TV series, premiered on ABC on September 26, 1969, Fridays at 8:30 p.m. Monty Markham played Longfellow Deeds, the small-town newspaper editor from Mandrake Falls, who inherits a $50 million Manhattan corporation from his uncle. Pat Harrington Jr., 6 years before he would become the unforgettable Schneider on One Day at a Time, played Tony Lawrence, Deeds' elegant executive assistant. Herb Volland played the corporate antagonist. Ivor Barry played the butler. Here's the part that nobody mentions. Frank Capra himself directed the pilot episode. The original director of the 1936 Best Picture nominated film came back at 72 years old to direct one half-hour sitcom pilot. He never directed another television episode. ABC canceled the show January 16, 1970, mid-season. 17 episodes were produced. The 17th was never aired. The The time slot was immediately handed to The Ghost and Mrs. Muir, a show ABC had already canceled 6 months earlier and was just burning off. Monty Markham would return to ABC 3 years later for the new Perry Mason. That show would also be canceled after 1 season. Number 5. The Engelbert Humperdinck Show, ABC.
Open air, wait for us somewhere.
In 1967, a British pop singer, born Arnold George Dorsey, changed his name to Engelbert Humperdinck, borrowing it from a 19th century German composer. The name was a gimmick. The voice was real. His debut single, Release Me, hit number 1 in the UK and stayed there for 6 weeks, famously blocking the Beatles' Penny Lane and Strawberry Fields Forever, double A-side from the top spot. By 1970s, he had 4 hit albums and a rivalry with another British crooner named Tom Jones, who incidentally was managed by the same man Engelbert was managed by, Gordon Mills. The Engelbert Humperdinck Show premiered on ABC on January 21, 1970, Wednesdays at 9 p.m. as a mid-season replacement. The show was actually a British ATV production filmed in London. ABC imported it for American broadcast. 17 episodes. Final episode May 27, 1970. The Jack Parnell Orchestra, the Irving Davies Dancers, the Mike Sam's Singers. The guest list was extraordinary. Tony Bennett, Lena Horne, Jack Benny, Milton Berle, Phil Silvers, Libraze, Paul Anka, Donald O'Connor, Gina Lollobrigida, Ray Charles, Jerry Lewis, Lou Rawls, Shirley Bassey, Don Knotts, Barbara Eden, Jose Feliciano, Dionne Warwick. Tom Jones himself appeared in a sketch where he and Engelbert sang each other's songs. ABC pulled it after 1 season. Engelbert kept performing. He's still touring in 2026 at age 89. He has outlived almost every American variety host who ever canceled him. Number 4. Then Came Bronson, NBC.
Have good luck, Em.
Thank you.
Easy Rider hit theaters in July 1969. The film made $60 million on a $400,000 budget and made motorcycle counterculture officially mainstream. NBC saw the numbers. NBC ordered a motorcycle drama. Then Came Bronson premiered on NBC on September 17, 1969, Wednesdays at 10 p.m. Michael Parks played Jim Bronson, a young San Francisco newspaperman who quits his job after his best friend Nick, played by Martin Sheen, commits suicide. Bronson buys a 1969 Harley-Davidson Sportster and rides across America looking for meaning. Each week he stops in a small town, gets involved in someone's problem, helps them out, plays a song, and moves on. Bud Ekins, who had doubled for Steve McQueen on the famous motorcycle jump in The Great Escape, coordinated all the stunts. Star Trek's Robert Justman produced 26 episodes, canceled April 1, 1970. The closing theme song, Long Lonesome Highway, sung by Michael Parks himself, became a minor radio hit. Parks went on to a long career as a Quentin Tarantino favorite in From Dusk Till Dawn, Kill Bill, and Death Proof. Then Came Bronson became a permanent cult classic of motorcycle culture. Number 3. Pat Paulsen's Half a Comedy Hour, ABC. Pat Paulsen was a deadpan comedian who became famous as a writer-performer on the Smutters Brothers Comedy Hour in 1967. In 1968, he ran for President of the United States. He was not joking. He ran on the straight-talking American government party ticket and got 200,000 actual votes. He would run for president again in 1972, 1980, 1988, 1992, and 1996. In 1970, ABC gave him his own show. Pat Paulsen's Half a Comedy Hour premiered on ABC on January 22, 1970, Thursday nights at 7:30 p.m. The pitch was simple: bring Smutters Brothers political satire to ABC. The show was a sketch comedy half-hour with celebrity guests. Hubert Humphrey, Lyndon Johnson's former vice president, appeared on the very first episode alongside Debbie Reynolds and an animated Daffy Duck. Other guests included Henry Fonda, Don Rickles, Don Adams, Tom Smutters, Tiny Tim, Wilt Chamberlain, and Foghorn Leghorn. The writer's room is the kicker. One of the writers in Pat Paulsen's Half a Comedy Hour was a 24-year-old comedian named Steve Martin. 5 years before Saturday Night Live, 7 years before The Jerk, ABC canceled the show after 13 episodes, April 16, 1970. The final episode is a satirical send-up of being canceled. Paulson tears up on camera. Number 2, Paris 7000, ABC. In November 1969, ABC made an announcement. The struggling primetime soap opera Harold Robbins' The Survivor was going to be retooled for mid-season. Lana Turner and Kevin McCarthy would be dropped. George Hamilton would be the new lead. The show would move from Mondays at 9 p.m. to Thursdays at 10 p.m. Then ABC made a second announcement. They were canceling The Survivors entirely instead. But George Hamilton still had a contract guaranteeing him a full season run. So Universal Television and ABC had 8 weeks to invent a new show for him. That show was Paris 7000. Paris 7000 premiered on ABC on January 22, 1970, Thursday nights at 10 p.m., in the exact time slot The Survivors had been moving to. George Hamilton played Jack Brennan, a State Department troubleshooter at the American Embassy in Paris. Any American in trouble overseas could call the embassy's phone number, Paris 7000, and Brennan would arrive to handle it. Co-created by Gene L. Kuhn, the Star Trek writer-producer, who had created Khan, the Klingons, and the Prime Directive. 10 episodes, canceled March 26, 1970. George Hamilton's second canceled ABC series in 5 months. Same actor, same network, same season. Number 1, The Survivors, ABC.
All of these against a half hour of your time. Cards, dice, the wheel, your choice.
Roulette one spin.
Lana Turner was the biggest female movie star of the 1940s. She had starred in The Postman Always Rings Twice, Ziegfeld Girl, and Peyton Place. 3 Academy Award nominations, 4 marriages. In 1958, her teenage daughter killed her gangster boyfriend with a kitchen knife in their Hollywood home, in what was ruled justifiable homicide. By 1969, Turner was 48 years old and had not had a film hit in years. ABC offered her her first regular TV series role. She took it. The Survivors premiered on ABC on September 29, 1969, Monday nights at 9 p.m., created by best-selling pulp novelist Harold Robbins, based on his novel of the same name. The premise: the lives, loves, scandals, infidelities, and corporate intrigues of the wealthy Carlyle family who owns a Wall Street bank with international holdings. The cast was Hollywood gold. Lana Turner as Tracy Carlyle Hastings, Ralph Bellamy as her banker father, George Hamilton as her playboy half-brother, Kevin McCarthy as her cheating husband, Jan Michael Vincent in his TV debut, Diana Mulder, Natalie Schafer, fresh off Gilligan's Island, Universal Television. Rumored to be the most expensive primetime production of its era, 15 episodes, canceled at mid-season. Final original episode, January 12, 1970. Lana Turner never starred in another television series. 10 shows, 6 from ABC. 1 Emmy winner that was canceled before the Emmys even nominated it. 1 Hollywood movie star's only TV role, gone in 15 episodes. 1 George Hamilton double flop in back-to-back mid-season slots on the same network. The 1969-70 season was the year the networks watched the 60s ending and panicked. The forgotten flops they left behind are the receipts. Until next time.